What's up, sports fans? Welcome to the Ysn Power Hour presented by our friends over at Toyota of Warren. DJ Yoakley with you. So happy to be back with you. It has been a crazy, and I mean crazy, time of year. Putting together schedules, trying to get this show on a more consistent basis, obviously. Thanks to all of you for your patience and what you've been able to kind of hang on while we try to hold on. It has been very turbulent. It's been rocking. But let me tell you, to have teams that are represented in the state semifinals in football, to have teams that did so well in fall sports in general, what a great feeling that is around our region. What a great opportunity that is for the youth and the next generation to be able to look at this generation and say, wow, we want to follow in their footsteps. You know, no matter if it's a state championship or not, you look at the 30 plus teams that YSN had represented on a scale in playoffs for football, and now we're down to two. We're down to Ursuline, and we're down to the South Range Raiders. Two teams that we're going to talk about, obviously, at length. A lot of people have a lot of things to say about these two teams who, you know, when we talked about this in week 1, 14 weeks ago, these were two of the teams, probably out of 3 or 4, that were at the top of everybody's mind. There is no surprise that these two teams are where they are today. Now, there were some surprises this year, and there were some pleasant surprises, and there were some kind of disappointing surprises. And that is not for here. We'll save that for a later date, probably towards the end of the year, as we talk about teams that were on the radar, teams that weren't on the radar, and teams that really just blew our minds a little bit here in 2024. But today we got a great show for you. 2 canned interviews, one with Tristan Reynolds, the second-year head coach of the East Palestine boys basketball team, and always good to sit down with T. And then we have Ysn Morrow. Now, we'll put her up first because she is and has made her exclusive announcement here with YSN about where she is going to be headed in her future for academics and athletics. And we want to make sure that she gets her due as well. Ysn Morrow, for those of you who don't know or have never met her in person, she's an intimidating figure. She's one of the sweetest girls you'll ever meet, naturally. But she is, when she's on that court or on a playing surface of any kind, she is locked in. And she just looks like she is pissed off at the world. That is called focus. So looking forward to debuting that interview right here on the YSN Power Hour here shortly. And again, Tristan Reynolds, the East Palestine basketball coach, will join us with an interview that we did a week or so ago. Haven't been able to get it up, and we wanted to debut it here. So let's talk real quick before we get to Izzy about this week, about how special these moments are when you can play into week 15. In football, you have Thanksgiving practice, which is, I remember my first one I believe it was 2017, where Dan Yeagley just continued to go and talk about how important, how special Thanksgiving practices were, because there's only 4 teams in your division that are left, and they're practicing on Thanksgiving. And you multiply that times 7 now, which means that there's 28 teams in the entire state that are practicing on Thanksgiving with the hopes of getting to that state championship. We have 2 of them right here. One in Division 3, one in Division 5. I think we've got more coming in the future, to be quite honest with you. Because here's what I've been getting some interviews throughout the week. I've been talking to people from across the state, and the one thing they constantly ask is, why are teams in your area, your region, always seemingly in the conversation from the Youngstown area? And the one thing that I continue to tell people, teams from Youngstown will always have a chance because of the physicality, the level of play that the physicality brings when you play a team from Youngstown. you are always going to know that you played a team from our area. There's no doubt. You look at that Poland South Range game that we did on Friday night. No pun intended, that was a dogfight. You have to bring your lunch pail and hard hat to work that Friday night in order to get past a team from Youngstown, a team from this area, the Mahoning Valley. There's a lot of talk going on in Yappy right now. There's a lot of conversation that's happening on message boards. And they're saying, listen, South Range, they aren't who they were in 2022. Ursuline, they're too soft. They're too small. I'm going to tell you right now, both of these teams are battle tested. Both of these teams playing at the prime, they're playing their best ball right now. That game was a slobber knocker that South Range and Poland doled it out. I'm going to say that if that was any other team than Poland, South Range blows them out of the water. Poland brought it. They knew exactly how they had to get to get in the right mindset, to be in the right space. They knew that they had to be the bully on the block in order to have a chance against South Range. The physicality that Poland brought on Friday night was incredible. You can go back and watch the tape. Everybody on South Range will tip their cap to Poland. Everybody knows how hard it is to play a team twice in 1 year. South Range did it twice on the road to week 15 rather. Twice. Once is hard enough. Poland played the best game they could possibly play. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean that is they were almost perfect on the night. There's a lot of blame going around about who lost that game for Poland. Here's what I'm going to tell you. There's a difference between losing the game and the other team winning it. South Range won that game. South Range, I'd love to sit here and say it was theirs all along. It wasn't. But the difference was South Range never got down. They never got frustrated with what wasn't happening for them, with what Poland was taking away, with those long extended drives that Poland had, drive in and drive out. They were one first down away from milking that clock down to triple zeros. One first down away. South Range knew it. The will to succeed will always supersede. I don't even know what I'm trying. The will to succeed will always kind of take over in moments like that. I tried to get all philosopher on you. Didn't work out. I was drawing a blank because this is the meat and potatoes of what I'm trying to tell you. The last time these two teams met, Liberty Center, South Range. South Range won 35-0. En route to Ironton to win their first ever state championship in the sport of football. You have Brady Shannon, everyone, making his appearance here at Athletics. You have a team in South Range that gets past Poland, right? With 16 seconds on the clock, they take the lead. Poland unable to make anything happen in those fleeting moments of the regional championship. So now you have South Range playing Liberty Center again, this time a little bit closer to home. 2 years ago in Clyde, way closer to Liberty Center than it was to Youngstown. This time we play in Parma. I would imagine that there's going to be a better circus, so to speak, for South Range when it's in Parma. The only caveat is that it's Black Friday. It's the day after Thanksgiving. Maybe we can make some shopping trips out of it, right? And bring some extra friends. It's certainly a challenge. It's a big stadium. Big stadium. Everything I've seen, everything I've read, it's a big stadium, big stage, Liberty Center. Their fans are all fired up naturally. They have revenge on the mind. They want Ironton. They're gonna have to go through South Range. They're gonna have to go through the Raiders. I don't think that Dave Rock is just gonna roll the ball out there with his team and figure that they're gonna win this game. That close contest, that game on Friday, could wind up being the best thing to happen to South Range this season. Poland may have helped South Range win another state championship with that game that they played. You want to know why? Here's why. At the end of the day, iron sharpens iron, and there's always an opportunity to win ugly. That last 2-minute drive for South Range was beautiful, but that was an ugly win, no matter which way you look at it. And it is always better to win ugly this time of year than lose pretty. I'm sure for years and years and years, people are going to talk about that game. But there's going to be two different narratives in two different bars. In the Poland bar, there's going to be agony, disgust, frustration. We had them. On the other side, possibly the greatest game that those 60-plus Raiders will ever compete in their life, against guys that they've been competing against their entire lives in Poland. I feel for Poland, I do. But the thing I said this weeks ago, I said it months ago, I've said it years ago, the best thing about this area, the best thing, is that this area supports its own. So even though deep down, I know Poland has disdain for South Range, and that because they haven't been able to beat them this generation. This entire, and correct me if I'm wrong, freshmen through seniors, this class has never been able to beat South Range. And even though that drives them insane, and the thought of it probably makes them want to yak, I have no doubt that Poland will be cheering for the Raiders this Friday night. It sucks to lose, but I would rather lose to the potential state champions than lose to a team that's floundering for position, knowing that we were the better team. I would rather lose to a guy or a team that was better than me that day than know that I lost it. That's the difference between losing the game and having the other team win it. Now, when you look at the other side, Division III, our Ursuline Irish, ladies and gentlemen, they're rolling. They are rolling. But when you look at Toledo Central Catholic, I've read everything I need to read. I've seen the video. They're big. They're physical. They've got great talent. But they don't have Dan Reardon. I can't tell you how much a coach like Dan Reardon, a veteran coach with championship rings, brings this time of year. No moment is going to be big enough for Dan Reardon. He came back here with one thing on his mind, and he had a championship a few years ago in his grasp. And in the second half, it was a collapse that I'm sure haunts him to this day. Every practice, every second half of every ballgame probably drives him up the wall, thinking back to those fleeting moments in that championship game that it was theirs and it just slipped through their fingers. Speaking of Brady Shannon, he was part of that team. This Ursuline Irish team feels different. This Ursuline Irish team feels as if they were meant to be here in this moment, competing for championship gold. And I'm reading the Toledo Central Catholic is way bigger. They have way more skill. Ursuline hasn't been tested. I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think Ursuline is tested every week. Ursuline and South Range, for that matter, get everybody's best punch. Ursuline is a team that they get a lot of disdain. Nobody wants to play them now. Remember back in before Dan Reardon came back? Remember everybody wanted to put Ursuline on the schedule? They were the belle of the ball. We can get them. We can get Ursuline now. After all those years of them beating up on little brother, we can get them now. Yeah, you're not scheduling them anymore. There's no beating up on Ursuline. They took their comeuppance. And now they're back where they were when I was in high school, 20 plus years ago. They're back to being a dominating force. And I'm telling you, they got some winners on that team that they smell blood in the water. They got some championship caliber sharks that smell blood in the water. They're 2 games away from righting the ship. And people want me to bet against Ursuline. They want me to sit there and say, well, yeah, but. Yeah, Ursuline's good, but no. I said it yesterday during the Curbstone Coaches, and I'll say it again. I'm not betting, and I'm never going to bet against the teams in this area. Because I know, the same way that we opened this segment, I know the physicality is way tougher. I know, and I've heard it on multiple occasions in this area from teams that aren't from around here that play teams that are. I've never been hit like that. I've never been hit that hard. Listen, when you touch the stove and it's hot, you don't want to touch it again. When you get cracked and they're coming back the next play to do the same thing, you don't want it again. You're going to start seeing ghosts. You're going to start hearing footsteps. There is a physical brand of football that is played in this valley that isn't played any other part of this state. It's why we love this sport. It's why football is king around here, because it is a rite of passage. If you played football at any level in this valley, you understand that it is basically a fraternity. And I think that's why our teams stick together. I think that's why there's a mutual respect across the board. Do you hate them for 1 week a year? Probably. Almost absolutely. But for the other 9, and certainly as these teams bon voyage into the playoffs, you can say, man, I loved lining up against them. They got my motor running. Win, lose, or draw, they made me better for that week and the weeks after it. We talk about it a lot. Teams that, look at Poland. Poland loses to Canfield. They lose to South Range, and then they go on a run all the way until week 14. Guys, that's an incredible season. I know it sucks right now. You're licking your wounds. This is an incredible season. You're going to look back 20 years from now when you're an old man like me and you're thinking about what you just accomplished. That was a phenomenal season. Only one team gets to be the last team with a win. One team. Everybody else loses. One team gets to end their season with a victory. And in this case, 7 teams in Ohio will raise that trophy high because they won the last game. And there's about 800 that lost. So think about that. Think about how far you made it. Think about the competition that you went up against. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that I'm supposed to be shaking in my boots because some team from the West is taking on our teams, it ain't going to happen. We play different ball here in Youngstown. We play different ball here in the Mahoning Valley. I'll stand by it. I'll take our teams over any of the teams. And that's in all the sports. You look at what we're doing in softball right now. Look what we're doing in baseball. Basketball, it's loading. But we're coming. We'll be there because I think our brand of sports, not just football, our physicality across the board in all of our sports is something that travels. The hustle, the hard work, the determination. That, my friends, is what it's all about here in the Valley. That's why our teams will always have a chance. Now, when you look at Drew Pasteur's rankings and his weekly spreads, Ursuline is favored by 11. South Range, 3-point underdogs. I think that's enough to fire up both of the teams. I really do. Ursuline's going to say 11's not enough, and South Range is going to say, oh, thank you. We've been waiting for someone to tell us that we're underdogs. We've been waiting for someone to tell us that we can't do it. Because we have everybody else patting the baby saying, it's okay, you're going to get there. No. South Range, they're different. When you look at the head coach, David Rock, you look at a guy that is top down. This team formulates itself around him. And while he's a sweetheart, he's a dear friend of mine, he's a guy that loves people more than people, he still has a lot of that fire in him. A little bit of that crazy. The kids relate to that. Sometimes that crazy comes out. You saw the excitement on Friday night. Grasping a victory from the jaws of defeat. You saw that Dave Rock come out. You saw that fire that burns. Sometimes he's got to put and be the CEO of that football program. And sometimes, man, I bet you he still wants to suit up. Dan Reardon's the same way. He's a little bit more CEO these days, but I guarantee when he needs to deliver the one for the Gipper speech, there's nobody better. And there's something special about both of these coaching staffs that I like. And it's nothing is being taken for granted. Everything is earned. Nothing is given. We've heard it over and over and over. Right? But the stark reality of all of that, and the thing that I think I love most about these two teams and the characteristics that line up that are just synergetic, is that they're not waiting for you to give them stuff. They're going to go out and take it. That's what I love about these two teams. That's what I love about Ursuline Irish football. That's what I love about South Range Raider football. They're not going to wait for you to give them their roses. They're just going to take the damn things and tell you, thank you. We'll see you there. When all the jawing's happening, those words, we'll see you there. That's all that matters. I'm just an old broadcaster. I'm just a guy that talks about the games. But I'll tell you what, if I'm not fired up when I hear the coach say, That's great. We'll see him there. I mean, chills. Those are the kind of guys I want leading me. Those are the kind of guys that I would jump in the foxhole with if World War III came about. I'm going with those guys. It's not swag. It's not confidence even. It's a promise. We'll be there. We'll line it up. We'll go toe to toe and see the best man wins. I love it. They're not going to wait for you to give them something. The discipline. There's so much discipline in victory because there's so many defeats along the way that you have to overcome and learn and become and grow that discipline. These two teams have it. I'm not saying that we're going to sit there and we're going to win every snap of every play on Friday. What I'm going to tell you is our guys are going to bring their best. And if we lose, then we lose. But if we win, man, one step closer. One step closer to that immortality that comes with a state championship. Already they're talking about who was better, the 24 team or the 22 team in South Range. Dan Reardon will have his people pick away and say, which teams were better along the Dan Reardon eras? Was it this team? Was it this team? Was it the 02 team? Right? You think about all the great teams that he's had under his tutelage. It's good stuff. Let's get to the interview. Hard left turn. But we can't wait any longer for Ysn Morrow, the Western Reserve standout in volleyball and so many sports. Making her commitment. We'll let her do the talking. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I give you Ysn Morrow, the Western Reserve prodigy. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for Player Profile for Western Reserve, and one that I'm really looking forward to, a young lady that I've known for quite a long time and looking forward to what she's about to do and what she's about to announce to the world. At this time, I bring in a dear friend, a great family, and certainly one that I feel like she's part of our family. Ladies and gentlemen, she goes by Isabella, but we've always called her Izzy and the Ice Queen. It is Ysn Morrow. Izzy, congratulations. Before we do all of that stuff, and you do the thank you and the farewell tour, talk to us about, what decision you've come to and where you're going to head for your secondary career in college.
Yeah, I plan on continuing my volleyball and my academic career at Penn State Shenango.
And you got the shirt all ready to prove it,
Yeah.
which is half the battle, which is good. I've known you since you were, I believe, middle school, right?
Yes.
And your older brother, obviously, serving our great country, and we're grateful for his service, and your family, obviously, a great family. For you, talk to me about, because there was a point in time that you thought you were going to go into the service. What are the determining factors for you to head to Penn State Shenango?
Yeah, so my original plan was to go to the Air Force, but I do have celiac disease. So unfortunately, they couldn't accommodate to my medical record. My dog's in here.
That's okay.
So I got a lot of offers for volleyball and basketball, but I came to the decision for Penn State Shenango just because I met the team and I immediately blended in with the team as well. And it's like I knew the athletes through YSN and All-Star games. So I knew it was a good team. And I also feel like this is the best opportunity for me to be able to get that volleyball experience that I want to continue. And the environment is just great there.
You're just an all-around athlete. I mean, it's the same thing with your brother. He was good at every sport. You're good at every sport that you participate in. How challenging was it to lock down on one sport and say, hey, I want to, advance my career in volleyball instead of the other sports that you continuously are standout in?
Volleyball has always been like my main sport that I'm going to, which is funny because I actually have been playing basketball for more years, I think. But the I got more offers for volleyball because it's just what I focus in on more. And the Penn State Shenango coach actually wanted me to meet him for basketball too, and the volleyball coach was like, absolutely not. So I guess he kind of made the decision for me. But I'm sure I'll still play basketball in my free time or join like a rec league or something.
Well, that's fair. I mean, it's always good to continue to play, multiple sports, but obviously once you get to that college level, it's a little bit different. And I think that you've got enough friends and obviously family that have gone on to play at the next level that you understand that it's a job. So with that being said, you also are trying to go to school and get your career started. So what are you going to be studying?
I want to study engineer, either mechanical or aeronautical.
That's fair. So what do you want to do with that?
I would like to work on like for NASA or like the planes in NASA.
I mean, you're going to space, right? Like,
Yeah,
are we gonna see you going to eventually the Space Force and then maybe Starfleet or whatever it may be at that time?
you might be.
What would you do? Like, if you were actually going into space, what would be the first thing that you wanted to like? What planet would you want to go to? What would you want to go and discover?
Um, I don't know. The first thing that comes to my mind is like the movie Wally.
Is that a family favorite?
Yeah, pretty much. I'll probably do something stupid and like interact like a movie scene from Wally.
Talk about talk about engineering. What got you into that? What got your focus towards the engineering side of things? Do you like fiddling with stuff? Do you like putting stuff together? What is it?
I've always grew up in the garage with my dad ever since I was little. Like I remember I was like a toddler in the winter in the garage and he was like you like bundling me up with a bunch of coats and stuff just so I could sit there and learn about stuff. So like I'm restoring my own car and I love hands-on stuff and I always have to be on the go. So it kind of fits in with the lifestyle.
I was just going to ask you. Okay, so talk to me. I know you were restoring a car. Is it the same car or is it a new car? What do you got?
So right now I'm working on my 72 Buick Skylark and I have to tow it to my grandpa's to work on the quarter panels just because he has more tools there. And I'm also working on my dad's C10 Mafia truck with the transmission.
All right, so we got to talk about your family, right? It's perfect transition. Talk about dad, talk about mom, the traits that they possess that you're so grateful that they gave to you through DNA or you just watching them and when you're growing up. What are some of the things that you admire about your family the most?
My parents are the two hardest workers that I've ever met in my life. My mom, she works in healthcare and she's working crazy hours and then she still comes straight from work to support my games. My dad, he'll always bend over backwards just to make sure that everybody else in the family's good. And so I have a really good support system and I'm extremely blessed with the people around me. And as I grew up, even with my brother, everyone has just pushed me to work for what I want. So nothing was like handed to me, which I'm extremely grateful for because it pushed my work ethic more.
Izzy, I mean, you mentioned your brother. Talk to me quickly about, all right, I guess you can take your time. We got no time limits here. Talk to me about the sacrifices that you've seen your older brother make, the Iceman, Mike, and what he's been able to do and maybe some of the lessons that you've learned through his eyes, so to speak.
Yeah, so he's gotten a lot like more poetic, I say, since he's went to West Point, and he'll drop in because he's an extremely busy schedule. But he'll do like my dad calls them his monthly check-ins, even though they're weekly at this point, and he'll just say like a random quote that makes absolutely no sense, but later on in life, I'm sure it's gonna make sense. So our relationship is still really good. I randomly call him, he'll answer, and we're just like do sibling bickering. So I'm extremely happy that it's still good.
One of the reasons you are the Ice Queen and you will forever be the Ice Queen is the fact that you are frosty when it comes to being on that court or whatever playing field or surface you're on. Where did you get that when you're in the zone, you are locked in. The faces that you make, like they are death stares. I mean, you smile sometimes, usually just at the end of the game after a victory. But talk to me about where you got your demeanor on the court. Is it the same way in the classroom? I'd be scared to be a teacher if I was in that scenario.
Yeah, so I don't really show a lot of emotions just because I don't know. I don't like people reading me. I like to read the people mostly. And I've just always played like I went through life with just a chip on my shoulder. And with everything that's happened with motivators, I call the haters. So like I just have everything fueling me. So even though it might not come up immediately, it will always come back up and I'm always going to come on top if I'm determined to do it.
You just played in the YSN All-Star game for volleyball. There was a lot of little girls in the stands looking your direction. There was a star-studded event, and we were so happy to put it on, so happy that you came. But there was a lot of little girls that looked to you as a role model. What would you tell those little girls, or little boys for that factor, that, what you've learned and kind of what you learned over the years and would maybe make their life a little bit easier with a little bit of your wisdom?
I would say to any of the little kids or anyone struggling for that matter that always keep your relationship with God, because if you don't have God, you don't have anything important. And also do what makes you happy, because you're not going to be able to please everyone. So at the end of the day, you're stuck with only yourself, because not everybody is guaranteed to be there.
Are we going to see you on the hoops floor here in a couple days?
Absolutely. We play Bristol.
Our girl. Izzy, I'm so proud of you. Can't tell you what you guys mean to us, and certainly YSN, but to my family in specifics. Thank you so much for taking time. Congratulations on making yourself available at the next level, and best of luck at Penn State Shenango, but I'm sure we'll talk before then.
Thank you.
And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It is basketball season. Hard to believe. DJ Yokley here, and we're going to be talking to Tristan Reynolds, the second-year basketball coach for the varsity East Palestine Bulldogs, one of my dear friends for the longest time, is doing a heck of a job down in Bulldog country. As a matter of fact, let's bring him in right now. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, Tristan Reynolds. What's up, T? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. All right, second year. You had that first year. Obviously, assistant coach year prior to that. You take over as the varsity coach, get that year, that valuable year under your belt. You guys are fighting. Right, you're fighting champions from that standpoint, getting these guys to learn your system. The first year, you look at the challenges are, hey, this is just another new coach. You got their respect, which is something that you and I talked about a lot, is capturing the respect of your players. Now you come into your second year. Now the expectations are real. Now it's, okay, we have the foundational component. You got some new players coming in, obviously, that can ball. You've got some great senior leadership. Talk to me about your expectations for the 2024-2025 East Palestine Bulldogs.
Our expectations, I would say, are pretty high in our regards. We made some moves last year. Got back up to where we needed to be. We were winning games we should have won. Here, we would like to win those games that we probably shouldn't have won last year. So, we're looking just to build on that and have that high energy and, looking to be there at the end of the season for the UAC.
Defense. Energy. That's what you always are going to hang your calling card on. But you need to score points, and you got some point scorers this year. Owen coming back. Obviously, Kyler being a part of that mix, the big fella in the middle, the man in the middle. And you got some young guns that are still coming back, and then you've got some more young guns coming up that you're going to be able to hopefully get some valuable varsity minutes for in some capacity. Talk to me about the mix. Like, when you're looking at, okay, this is what I have coming back, they already understand the system, and then the guys that are coming in, do you lean more on the guys that are in the system, or do you kind of boot camp those freshmen?
So we really do count on Owen and Kyler for a lot of things.
Yeah.
They're Owen's going to be a 4-year starter. Kyler would have been towards ACL when he was a freshman, but we lean on them a lot. Our offense runs through them. They're leaders, and the kids trust them. I think that's the most important thing. The kids trust them. So having that trust, and they want to play with those guys, so they're going to give it everything they got just to earn that respect and that trust, and they want to be on the court with them.
EOAC is, we look at what happened in football. I mean, the EOAC is fully back, all the way back, and I don't think we're going to steer away from that in basketball. You're obviously going to have the teams that are always at the top and competing for championships. You look at Lisbon; they're going to be fully back. Columbiana is going to be there. Valley Christian, obviously, very athletic. But people are looking at you and saying, "Hey, this guy has his team playing hard the first year." It's hard to get them to buy in that first year. You had them bought in. You said you were in games that you had no business being in, which is a credit to you and a credit to them, obviously. How do you keep that going? And I guess second year shouldn't be a situation where your voice becomes white noise. But how do you keep the message kind of clean and fresh and all that stuff?
The standard is the standard. So, we live on that. We set our expectations high in practice, throughout the season, on and off the court. So, it comes back to the standard is the standard, and that's what we stand on.
When you've had a temper since I've known you, but last year I saw change in you. I saw you kind of mellow out a little bit. What was that kind of drew you to that situation, made you change your ways a little bit? I've seen you stomping on the floor, which I don't think we'll ever see that go away in any capacity. But what was it that made you kind of mature in that scenario and understand that there's multiple ways to skin a cat?
Yeah, well, the foot stomping is because my voice doesn't project. It does not project, so I got to do something. But no, I think it was, slowly but surely, it just became second nature for the boys, right? And our practices were more crisp. So we practice very, very well, get in the game, and we would execute. So right there, the proof is in the pudding. Perfect practice, get out there and play, and the boys are going to take care of themselves.
You've had the guys for about 2 weeks now, being able to trying to establish an identity in practice. Hard to go, brown versus white every day and understand where your guys are going to be. Where do you want them to be by the first game? Where do you want them to be by the 10th game? Where do you want them to be by the playoffs in regards to just kind of growing as a team?
Coming out of the gate, we want to just play extremely hard. And kind of find that identity right out of the gate. And once we find that, we just want to continue to grow. We kind of have a feeling what our identity is going to be, but we want to be at full potential. Early on in the year, most teams hit their strides right around, I would say, Christmas break. So, we're looking to get there a little bit earlier than years past, but just playing good, solid basketball right out of the gate, because that's the way we're practicing right now. We're practicing incredibly hard.
Above all else, what do you want to see from your team? I mean, you want to see effort, energy? Do you want to see, scoring? Do you want to see defense? What do you want to see from these guys?
Energy. I love when the kids get on the floor. They're getting on the floor in practice. It's awesome. I love the defense aspect of the game. We're going to amp it up this year for us. And just hanging your hat on defense and getting down the court, running, using our legs. We're pretty young. I know we got a couple seniors, but we still are pretty young in that sense too. And we're fast. So
you look at, we talked about Kyler, born already. We talk about Owen Uriauchi, two guys who have filled up the stat sheet in the fall with what they did in the fall with the football team. What do you expect from them? And who are some other guys that we're going to be looking to see on YSN this winter?
With Owen's he's a pure-hearted leader. I mean, the kid works hard. First one in the gym, last one to leave. And I said this to him the other day. I said, when you think about the Palestine athletes that have come through, the Smitty Kenders, the Ben Geissens, the Jim Horns, the Parker Sherrys, I think at the end of the day it's going to be hard to leave Owen Uriauchi out of that conversation. Kyler Bourne, my man, he's working incredibly hard. He has set some goals for himself, and I think his goals are very obtainable. And then you got literally the rest of the starters come back: Drew Bycroft, Will Dixon, R.J. May, and then we got some juniors looking to get in the mix as well. So it's exciting to have everyone back. We only lost one, so it's exciting to get everyone back so we can just build on it and run with it a little bit.
You hate losing anybody. Obviously, you mentioned that you only lost one. That is a coach's dream from that standpoint, to minimize the impact from year to year. So is this a reloading year for East Palestine, where you can kind of take the same a continuation, so to speak, of last year, where you can take what you learned and move it into the new season? Or are you going to have to, I mean, we know you can never not trust Tristan Reynolds for a surprise or two, but is it a situation where people can look at tape from last year and know what they're getting, but you're hard to plan against because you can't really match up against effort a lot of times.
This is the first time in a couple years that I feel real confident in the boys, and we can play to our strengths, and not have to dictate off of different other little things that teams are going to throw at us, because we can play to our strengths, and I think that's going to be huge for us this year.
All right, so we got to get off the script a little bit because we talked about basketball enough. It's preview. You can only do so many things. Tonight's big night. Big night. Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. I know you've been in the ring before. I've paid for it on pay-per-view, as a matter of fact. You have any predictions? Do you have any wants out of this fight? You watching it?
Yeah, I'm definitely watching it. Mike Tyson's just an animal. Oh my gosh, I saw him last night. Like when he slapped Jake Paul, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this dude like doesn't age. I'm going with Mike Tyson, man. It's hard not to. You know what I mean? It's hard not to.
And I think I've asked you this a long time. It wasn't Jake Paul, but if you had to get in the ring with either one of these guys, and you got a nice payday, let's just put it out there, who would it be and why? Would it be Paul or Tyson?
I'd probably be Jake Paul. I think he's slow. I'll just run around the ring.
Could you win?
I don't know if I could win. I might slip a couple shots in there.
You always do.
Oh yeah.
You always do. Ladies and gentlemen, Tristan Reynolds, the head coach of the East Palestine basketball team. T, thank you so much. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you for having me, man. Absolutely.
Helps when the mic's not muted. It is the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark presented by Joe Dickey Electric. They are everything electrical. You can visit them today at dickeyelectric.com. It is right now. It is Tuesday, and we're 2 days away from Turkey Day, Thanksgiving, and I'm going to pull a Scotty Mincher and tell you guys that I am thankful, I am grateful for each and every one of you, no matter if you love us, you like us, it's your first time watching this show or being on YSN, if you hate us, if you're still watching, I don't understand why, but that's for you to decide. The people that have driven us to higher and higher ground. Great article this morning in the Vindicator from Greg Goulas. I talked at the Curbstone Coaches yesterday, and we just talked about the future of sports streaming and in sports. And when we took this step, Brian Scott, the co-founder, if you don't know, and myself, when we took this step in 2017, it was kind of not even, taking blind steps up a staircase and just praying that there was another step and another step. And that I remember going to bed on different nights, wondering if we would still have a freaking network when I got up. And certainly, one thing led to another. And, when we did the quick math over the last 7 years, we have created over 40.3 million views to a website that we call YSN. And we could not have done a singular thing if it weren't for you. And so we are so thankful, so grateful for each and every one of you that have tuned in along the way, whether it was the shaky beginnings in 2017 or the shaky, mediocre stuff that we do to this day. We're always trying to get better. And what I can promise you is that there's never a day that goes by that we're not incredibly grateful for the comments, the criticism, the celebrations, but most of all, to be part of each and every one of your communities across this wonderful region, from the lake to the river. We are so excited. We are so blessed. And again, to be able to do what we do every day for a living is such an absolute dream come true. A dream that I never thought I would live. I thank you. I'm so grateful to be able to spend time and, create a business here in this great country, to have opportunities to do special things for the communities that we service. Thank you. Thank you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you a million times over. My family thanks you. And hopefully we're doing a little something that you could be thankful for as well. That is going to do it for the YSN Power Hour for today, the 26th of November, this Tuesday. Hopefully we have a show tomorrow. Maybe we'll get Scotty to jump on here and talk a little bit about what he's thankful for and scoop that out of him like a pumpkin pie. That's going to do it for our show. Thanks for tuning in. We're thankful once again for you. Hopefully you'll tune in tomorrow, and we will have another great show for you with more interviews and more things to talk about in the world of sports here in our region. Till then, my name is DJ Yoakley. This has been the YSN Power Hour presented by our friends at Toyota of Warren. YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of your